It's Bruce Rea from Breath of Life Ministries, and it's great to be back with you again today. Hopefully, a lot of you are getting your time thing sorted out, because here in New Zealand, we changed daylight saving time over the weekend, and we went forward 1 hour, which means that we are coming to you, I think if I've got it correct, 1 hour earlier than we were last week and the previous weeks. So hopefully everybody has got their time sorted out and we are back together as normal. So, as I was saying, it's great to be back with you again today. So, what shall we talk about today? Well, I thought we'd go on from where we were. We finished up in 1 Corinthians chapter 8 yesterday. And I thought what we'd do today is go on to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Sounds plausible, doesn't it? But it's good just to occasionally go through the verses and that are there. It all makes a picture. And looking through 1 Corinthians chapter 9 this morning, I thought this is good stuff. So, great to have people coming on board this morning. Send me a message, let me know you're there. And also, if you have any prayer requests or just have a word of encouragement or whatever, please put your message up in the chat section. It is always great to hear from you. So, we are in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, and this starts off, it's all about Paul's rights as an apostle. And it goes through the lists of comparing himself with the various apostles and what the Bible says in regard to an apostle. Verse 4, for example, says, "Don't we have the right to food and drink? Don't we have the right to take a believing wife along with us, as do other apostles and the Lord's brothers and Cephas? Or is it only I and Barnabas who lack the right to not work for a living?" And it goes on, and it comes to verse 9. So we're in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 9. "For it is written in the law of Moses, 'Do not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain.' Is it about oxen that God is concerned? No. It's about providing for us as we are in ministry, as we are doing God's work. And these verses are all about talking about people who are in ministry and being provided for. And it talks about those who in the temple, and they were able to have the food that was dedicated to an offering. And so it says this, "Do not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain." And that's talking about you and me in ministry. A lot of ministries are restrained because they don't have the resources to do what they have been called to do. This is very much the case with Breath of Life Ministries. I would love to be doing more than I am currently, but we are restrained by the resources that we have to do that. And this is all about talking about the church empowering ministry through providing for their material needs. So let's go on. Verse 10, "Surely he says this for us, doesn't he? Yes, this was written for us, because whoever plows and threshes should be able to do so in the hope of sharing in the harvest. If we have sown spiritual seed among you, is it too much if we reap a material harvest from you? If others have this right of support from you, shouldn't we have it all the more? And so it's an interesting topic that we're on to today. So often we put our tithes, offerings, our money into the church and providing for the wages of a pastor and maybe one or two others. You may have more than one pastor that you are supporting as a church. You may have all sorts of other things that the church is supporting. Hello, Terry. Great to see you there today. Sorry we missed you yesterday, but you had a good excuse. So, yeah, the church has many things that it needs to cover. The support of the pastor or pastors, the upkeep of the church, may have a mortgage on the church building, or whatever it is. There are all sorts of things that the church has a need for. But then there are others in the church who are also operating in ministry. And some of them are out there in such a way that is very sacrificial in how they are ministering. So let's talk a wee bit about giving in the role of the church. I mentioned before that Breath of Life is a ministry. I would love to do more than we are able to do, but we are restrained by financial lack. And there are many ministries out there. There may be your ministry as well that is restrained. And that goes on. But we did not use this right. This is Paul speaking here. Remember, he worked. He was a tent maker. Excuse me. And he provided for his own needs. He's saying here that we have the right to be able to ask the church for financial help and help in food or whatever. But he says, but we did not use this right. On the contrary, we put up with anything rather than hinder the gospel of Christ. And then in verse 13, it says this: don't you know that those who serve in the temple get their food from the temple, and that those who serve at the altar share in what is offered on the altar? In the same way, the Lord has commanded that those who preach the gospel should receive their living from the gospel. Well, how's that make you think? In the same way, the Lord has commanded. The Lord has commanded that those who preach the gospel should receive their living from the gospel. Now, who's it talking about here? Is it just our pastors in church? Or does it go beyond that? If you're involved in ministry, does this affect you? The Lord has commanded that those who preach the gospel should receive their living from the gospel. There's no if, buts, or maybes in that. That's a straight statement. But Paul goes on to say, but I have not used any of these rights. And that's the right that we have. We have the right to receive support, receive your living from the gospel. But we also have the right to decline that. And that puts some ministries in a very interesting dilemma. Should I expect that my household costs, my food and everything that I need to sustain life and everything in the ministry, that the church provides for that? Or is it better that I decline that? Paul says, but I have not used any of these rights, and I am not writing this in the hope that you will do such things for me. For I would rather die than allow anyone to deprive me of this boast. When I preach the gospel, I cannot boast, since I am compelled to preach. Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel. Wow, that's a commitment. Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel. If I preach voluntary, I have a reward. If not voluntary, I'm simply discharging the trust committed to me. Wow. If I preach voluntary, I have a reward. But if not voluntary, I'm simply discharging the trust committed to me. That's interesting, isn't it? This stuff isn't quite so black and white as you'd think. Verse 18, and we're in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 18. What then is my reward? Just this, that in preaching the gospel, I may offer it free of charge, and so not make full use of my rights as a preacher of the gospel. How does it go for your ministry? How does it go for your ministry? You know, of the right that you have for the church to support you in your ministry, or the right that you have also to decline that, so that there is no restriction in your ministry. It's a dilemma, isn't it? It's a dilemma. So let us go on. Paul's use of his freedom, it's talking about here. Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone, to win as many as possible. To win as many, that's our job, to get out there and win as many as possible. To the Jews, I became like a Jew, to win the Jews. To those under the law, I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak, I became weak, to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. Wow. How far are we prepared to go in bringing the gospel to a hungry and thirsty world who desperately needs to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ? That they need to be saved, set free. How desperate are we to go out and share the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ? All this Paul does so that by all possible means I might save some. Are you using all possible means available to you to save souls? Or are we easy and just go along very easily, very lackadaisical, lukewarm? Is our commitment to saving souls hot, lukewarm, or cold? That's what it all comes down to. Hello, Hilda. Great to see you with us this morning. So, verse 23 of 1 Corinthians chapter 9. I do all things for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings. Now we come down to verse 24. And these are interesting verses. Very interesting verses. It says, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. That's the challenge that is there. That we are in a race and we are there to get the prize. We need to run in such a way as we are after that prize. And then it goes on to say this. Everyone who competes in the games, this is World Championships, the Olympics, this is your football games, or whatever else, rugby games. Everyone competes in the games, goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it to get a crown that will last forever. This is saying that people are serious. They are focused. They are dedicated. And like athletes, we go into training. We treat the call that is on our lives in a very serious way. We mean business. We're not wishy-washy. We're not sort of here one day, gone the next. We're not doing a half-pie job out there. We are committed, we are dedicated, and we are prepared to sacrifice whatever it takes to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. Verse 26, therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. Wow. What would disqualify you from the prize? I don't know. I'm not going to go there. But it says that we need to treat the ministry that we have of proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ very seriously. We need to focus as an athlete would in their training, in their commitment, in their dedication. And that's the call that is upon each and every one of us when it comes to our ministry. You may have the right, according to the Bible, for the church to support you financially. But you also have the right to decline that and say, I'd rather not hinder anything that is going on. I would rather be free to go out there and proclaim the good news. I'll be honest, it would be awesome if the church were able to get behind my ministry, and no doubt you're saying the same, would be awesome if we felt that they were really behind us and were able to support us. But the church only has limited resources as well. Need to pay pastors, need to the upkeep of the church building, the upkeep of all the things, the ministries that the church is involved in. There's only so many resources out there. I've had a post that I put on Facebook saying to people, yes, we as a ministry need your support. We need people to give regularly into the ministry. You know how much response I've had from that? None. And I've put this post up for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Not one person has come up and said, hey, I'm able to give regularly in support of your ministry. Now, this isn't all about looking for support for my ministry, but this is talking about the need in the church. And so often we are all tied up and our finances aren't free. We don't have excess things to put into this or that. And in your church, no doubt there are many calls for support that your church puts out there occasionally. For this need, for that need, for the other need, for the roof of the church, or whatever it is. Churches are looking for support all over the place. How does this apply to us? How does all this apply to us? Go back to Hebrews. A very favorite verse of mine. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, and it's going back to chapter 11, and it's referring to all those saints of the Bible who, the Old Testament, who lived by faith, and faith was really a significant issue in their lives. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. 4 verses we read was talking about preparing ourselves as an athlete for the work that God has for us, that we need to go into training, so to speak, that we need to prepare for what the calling of God has upon our lives. We don't need to treat it aimlessly. We don't treat it lightheartedly. But we are committed, we are dedicated, and we are fighting, and we are competing for the prize. You look at those who are involved in sports, and some of them, you can tell in their training, as they go about their training, they're not committed. They're not fully into this. They may not like the training, and that is evident in the way they train. Do they become successful in their sports? No. Are they the ones who come first in the 100 meters? No. Are they the ones that come first in the marathon? No. Are they the ones that come first in the mile or the 1500 meters? No. It's the one who puts in the work the commitment and the dedication is the one who wins the prize. And so we come to these verses. Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. You are in a race. There is a race marked out for each one of us. That says fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Wow. Consider Jesus, who sacrificed everything, who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. If you're growing weary in your ministry, then you need to take stock. You need to get back into the training regime. You need to focus on the prize, which is Jesus Christ. Let us throw off everything that hinders, it says, and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us run with perseverance. Yes, it's possible to grow weary and to lose heart. That happens. But we need to take stock. We need to reevaluate what is most important. And the things that are important in our lives, the priorities. Is our time divided? Are we looking at the wrong things? Have we taken on too much? Whatever it is, we need to take stock and we need to get back into a situation where we are in the fight again. And that we are not weary. We are renewed, restored, empowered. And that we don't lose heart. There can be many things out there, out in the world, cause us to lose heart. But if we're losing heart, we're focusing on the wrong things. It's our job to keep our eyes firmly on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. To keep our eyes firmly on him and not be led astray, not be led slightly off target. To keep our eyes on him, on the ministry that he has called us to. So if you have grown weary and losing heart, you need to get your act together. Get back on the horse and charge into battle, knowing that you have the full armor on and that you are there to win. Amen. God bless you. Have an awesome day. I'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. And tomorrow we will have Peter with us. and we will be talking about deliverance ministry in the church and what's happening and how it fits into your ministry. God bless you. Same time, same place tomorrow. Amen.